All right, so this video is for anyone who is remotely interested in directing their attention in a useful and meaningful way regarding the Israel-Palestine conflict. Okay, I'm not giving you information on what exactly is going on. I don't really know about that. I have no way of knowing, and neither do you if you are in the West watching this video, and that's kind of the point. All right. I'm using Dr. David Hawkins' map of consciousness as a contextual tool for understanding what is really worth our attention, what is worth focusing on. And the general rule here is that we should not be giving any attention to anything that has a consciousness calibration of under 200. Because under 200, we are not really being empowered and permitted to pursue truth and goodness for its own sake. Between 200 and 249, things are only relatively true. They're true depending on the context from which we are understanding it and approaching the information, and the context within which whatever it is we're calibrating exists. And this is kind of this little yellow area right here contains a very crucial threshold between pride, ego-centeredness, and courage, putting your ego aside and pursuing something that is for the good, even if you don't understand what it is. Okay. So there's still, if you yourself or something you're interested in or involved in or give your attention to calibrates between 175 and 199, it can still serve the good if you approach it from an over 200 context. But it's difficult to do that because anything that calibrates under 200 is likely to push someone who is near this threshold down beneath the threshold or pull it down. That's kind of how we should think about it, that we're being dragged down, and it takes an incredible level of consciousness, or at least presence and positive intention, to withstand that pulling effect that something under 200 has on the psyche. Okay, so the higher your personal level is, up in this range, the more able you are, one, to withstand the negative forces of anything below the 200 threshold, but also, two, the more likely you are to live in a principled manner, which excludes this from your context for living. All right, and excludes it from your circle of things you're granting your attention to. Okay, because you have your priorities straight. But just so you know, there are very few people up in this range. Okay, people who are like above this threshold, 400. There are very few people who are in the 400 range. Okay, increasingly less and less, fewer and fewer also, as more people who are trapped in philosophical materialism fall victim to all those little hot dogs on strings wagging in front of their face, the material convenience, and the negative emotions that accompany that. Once you are acting from pride or from anger or from desire or from fear. Okay, one of these lower level levels of consciousness. So anyway, I want to take a look at a few consciousness calibrations of related to the Israel-Palestine conflict, and basically show you why you shouldn't really be giving attention to it, especially as a Westerner who has no direct affiliation with this conflict. Okay, because one, you don't know what you're talking about, and two, it's none of your business. And that's really the point of this video, and you can leave it at that if you want. So anyway, first thing, didn't want to show that first. I'm going to be increasing in consciousness level for each of these calibrations. So this is a database of calibrations done both by David Hawkins himself. He's dead now, but also his some of his students who maintain this database of calibrations. Okay, so the Israel-Palestine conflict the conflict itself calibrates at 160. So what does that mean? 160, that is in the area of anger, okay, between 150 and 174. So the predominant emotional state that accompanies that is hate. Okay, and so by participating in it, you are doing so. If you get roped into it easily, you are doing so from a level of anger or less. And the motivation does not transcend that. Okay, promotional. The primary emotional state is that of hate. So participating just kind of proliferates that. The view of life is antagonistic. God view is vengeful. So no one who gives a tremendous amount of attention to this conflict, at least to the degree of understanding that the media supports, is doing the work of God, we could say, is seeing God as a vengeful being. And the process in participating in an argument online or in being a commentator on the conflict and digging in, whether it's on one side or the other, is from aggression. The process is aggression. So it's under 200, which means it's not something we should really be contending with. To begin with, it doesn't do anyone any good because the conflict itself is rooted in anger. Okay. Hamas is a terrorist organization, calibrates at 80. 80 is exceptionally low on the Hawkins scale. Apathy, despair, hopelessness, condemning God, abdication. This is nothing we should consciously involve ourselves with. No one who's conscious would involve themselves with it. Okay. But, converting to being a Hamas terrorist. Israel Defense Forces, by contrast, calibrated 200. So again, 200 to 249, that's the area of being contextually true. It depends what you mean by Israel Defense Forces. It depends what you mean. It depends what they're doing, why they're doing it, the reasons underlying it. So the reasons behind a move by the IDF could be for the good or not. It depends. Okay, but their existence on their own calibrates about the same as like any country for the most part. Most countries calibrate around 200 because the goodness level of them depends on the context. Okay. Next, Palestine. So what do we mean by Palestine? The social geography of modern Palestine, especially the area west of the Jordan River, has been greatly affected by the dramatic political changes and wars that have brought the small region to the attention of the world. It's a region, it's a territory, it's not a country by the political definition of country. Motivation, 170. So this is really the main number. The overall calibration of Palestine is 170. So it exists from a place of anger. Okay. And we can see this in the fact that Israel, regardless of other content that we might attach to this conflict, Israel has made numerous attempts to coexist with Palestine. Palestine has rejected each and every proposition. So that alone shows that they're not interested in coexisting. They want Israel. They're just angry at Israel. Maybe they want them extinguished. Maybe they just want them to move elsewhere or whatever. But they're not willing to compromise. They're not willing to coexist with Israel. Okay. So that a lack of ability to compromise shows a lack of neutrality, willingness, acceptance, and a lack of courage. Right? It takes courage to communicate effectively, to be open to negotiation with people who believe in maybe a God that takes a different material conception. But, the inability to see that the God of Judaism and the God of Islam are the same God, shows, well, some of the roots being in anger that underlie this conflict to begin with. Okay, especially on the Palestinian side, because the only thing connected to Palestine that calibrates over 200, which therefore is oriented toward truth and goodness, is Islam itself. Islam calibrates very high, at the level of 400, I believe. So it's a very holy religion. It does serve God, that one true God, regardless of what cultural baggage you attach to that idea. Okay. So the unwillingness to compromise with other people who essentially do believe the same God, albeit from a different religion, is beneath pride. It's angry. Life is so, yeah, got it. Israel as a country, overall 195. Looks like they're not willing to compromise either. Still below 200. Motivation behind the state of Israel, and calibration of the energy experience. While there, no surprise that that is the highest calibration of these three. The experience you have when you're there in being what is a holy land, otherwise people wouldn't fight over it. Okay. But the state of Israel itself calibrating at 195 could contextually be true, but usually comes from a place of pride. All right. Moving on to Norwegian Parliament's non-recognition of Palestine as an independent state. This is a recent calibration. We could also look at the general non-recognition of Palestine as an independent state. In Norway's case, it's 230, so it's contextually true that Palestine is not it's not a political state. It's not an actual country. All right. If they want to become an actual country and gain recognition as a real country, then they do the same thing that almost every country has done in order to gain the status of countryhood to begin with, and that is to defeat someone else for the land that they desire. They haven't done that. They're trying to like dig their tendrils into all of these other sources of authority, including Hamas, which calibrates even lower than Palestine, in order to covertly overtake the land of Israel as their own. Okay. And that's another thing that so many people in the West, including all the media sources and on the right and the left, there's this confusion. It seems obvious. I haven't heard anyone point this out yet because I'm not even necessarily following this conflict. I don't have to. I don't give my attention to it. Okay. To do so would be to stoop to a level below 200 that I don't see as spiritually beneficial. But I'm just helping to educate you on like some general contextual ways to think about the conflict if you're going to pay it any attention at all. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm not picking apart the details of the politics and the economics behind this issue or this conflict. Okay. But the thing that everyone seems to be missing is that Palestine and Hamas are not the same thing. Okay. I have endless sympathy for the civilians of Palestine. Okay. I love everyone, truly. But Hamas is a terrorist organization. And to equate the two is to make a categorical error that is harmful for your quest to understand what the hell is going on here. Not that it's your business anyway, and that you should worry about it. God, don't you have enough problems in your own life that this should not be a concern of yours? You know, how's your relationship with your father? Go deal with that, fucking coward. By the way, 250, this is when things start to objectively make sense. Yeah, it objectively makes sense to say Palestine is not an independent state. Of course, they're dependent on Israel for their land to exist because they're basically landlocked by Israel, and they're not a country. All right. Israel's decision to declare war on Hamas. This is a high calibration. This is in the level of acceptance and the desire to live in harmony and in mercy, to transcend the material realm. Okay. Very important to consider this because Hamas is a terrorist organization. If these words had been changed, if this was Israel's decision to declare war on Palestine, this would calibrate exceptionally low. Why? Because it makes the categorical error of confusing Hamas with Palestine. Okay? But it doesn't. It's correctly worded. That's why it calibrates so high, is because Israel is defending itself against terrorism. It's not defending itself against innocent civilians who live across a superficial political border who intend them no harm. Right? So we're in the level of acceptance of what is here. Moving on. Now, this is going to be fun for people. Zionism, highest calibration found in this list that I have here. What is Zionism? Following the establishment of Israel, Zionism became an ideology that supports the development and protection of the state of Israel. Okay, so it's a belief system in connection with Judaism. I can't tell you all the ins and outs of what they believe and what it stands for in each contextual case, but generally speaking, it is the belief system in connection with Judaism that is intended to protect the state of Israel and protect the only piece of land that the Jews have exclusive ownership over in the entire world. That is disregarding any potential, claims that the globalist approach to Satanism is run by the Jews. Okay, we're not going Alex Jones in this analysis. That's not what this is about. Although I do think that Alex Jones is a great entertainer and he's hilarious. And there's no way to know whether everything or anything that he says is true. Like, are you going to look up every fact, do your own research on every single fact that he spouts to see whether it's factual or not? I don't think anybody's capable of that. Just look at this stream of thought throughout his arguments. Accept it for what it is. It's entertainment. Okay, whether you want to believe every word of it or not is your own choice. Okay. So calibration of 430 lands us in the area of the intellect, the area of the need to understand things and stand up for what is objectively true. Okay, if it's helpful that a belief system revolving around the simple fact that Israel does have statehood, it makes sense, from their motivation to want to defend that. Okay. That there is meaning behind that move. That God is wise. Whether each individual believes that that's the same God as Allah in Islam, it's a separate issue. But we can abstract an understanding of why Zionism generally doesn't stand for evil, right? It simply stands as a defense against anyone who overtly attacks the state of Israel. And there is justification, consciously speaking, morally speaking, there's justification to declare war on someone who is overtly imposing on your well-being, your statehood, on the well-being of your citizens. Okay. Which is why that declaring war on Hamas is a good idea for the preservation of the state and the well-being of the majority of civilians in Israel. But it's not a war on Palestine. So this is a straw man, isn't it? Israel-Palestine conflict. That's not what the conflict is about. It's Israel versus Hamas. If it's Israel versus Palestine, you're silly to take a side. But if it's Israel versus Hamas, there's really only one side to choose from. And that's that. Hope you enjoyed the video today. Cheers.